So we are currently at Nassop. It's early, 6:30. Corin's busy standing in the queue to get our permit to leave the park or to leave the campsite, because they record you going in and out. And then after that we're going to make our way down south and then across the dunes to the Arb River Valley, and then up to Mata Mata for 2 nights. So as soon as Corin gets the permit, we'll be heading to the gate and then out for the day. Right, we're about to head out of Nassop camp on the road south to the road that cuts through the dunes to the Arb River, and then we'll spend the night Mata Mata tonight. That's the hide we were in last night, where the barn owls were. Apparently there's lots of cheetah sightings at Mata Mata, so that's the camp behind us. Today's drive is the same distance as yesterday's, 162 kilometers, but this time taking us between the riverbeds and over the undulating famous red sand dunes of the Kalahari. There's the second day coming. Yeah, in the front. Yeah. We saw several Kori busted this trip. Unfortunately, this one was a bit distant, but still enjoyable to see feeding out on the riverbed. Interestingly, Koris are the largest flying bird in Africa, and in fact the males may be the heaviest living animal capable of flight, with some weighing in at around 19 kilograms. Kori bustards are distributed throughout eastern and southern Africa and inhabit wide open grassland and lightly wooded savanna. Bat-eared foxes range across the savannas of eastern and southern Africa, and is considered the only true insectivorous canid, with a marked preference for harvester termites. But when these are unavailable, anything small it can get its paws on is consumed. These foxes get most of their moisture from their diet, so are less reliant on water than other canids. Their large ears not only help with hunting, they also help with thermoregulation. Pups in the Kalahari region are born between September and November, and leave their family groups at 6 months old, and reach sexual maturity at 9 months. Mentioned earlier in the video, here is a pale chanting goshawk watching over a burrowing honey badger, spotted by my eagle-eyed wife several hundred meters off into the riverbed. How she spotted this I'll never know. Maxed out on my zoom and then still heavily cropped, this is the closest to this behavior as I could get you. Here the goshawk is ready to pounce on anything flushed by the heavy work of the badger, and is a great example of commensalism, where one organism benefits and the other derives neither benefit nor harm. Honey badgers are one of my favorite animals, partly due to the fact that they are tough as nails and have the intelligence to match. These badgers have been known to see off a pride of lion and walk away from leopards after being attacked by them. It is known to savagely and fearlessly attack almost any other species when escape is impossible. Bee stings, porcupine quills and animal bites rarely penetrate their skin. The skin's looseness allows them to twist and turn on their attackers when held. The only safe grip on a honey badger is on the back of the neck. If horses, cattle, or Cape buffalo intrude upon a honey badger's burrow, they generally get attacked. They have a massive range across most of Africa, Southwest Asia, and the Indian subcontinent. It's the only living species in the genus Mellivora and is in the mustelid subfamily. After a brief stop and a bite to eat at the Dikbart Skalk rest stop, it was time to cross the endless sea of dunes over to the Arb riverbed. Driving the Transect Road shows you just how dependent the animals are on the riverbeds, as a lot of the big game sightings start to dry up. But you never know what surprise will await you over the next dune. The secretary bird is a large, mostly terrestrial bird of prey, endemic to Africa. It's usually found in the open grasslands and savanna of the sub-Saharan region. It's instantly recognizable as a very large bird with an eagle-like body on crane-like legs that give the bird a height of as much as 1.3 meters. Breeding can take place at any time of the year, but tends to be late in the dry season. The secretary bird hunts and catches prey on the ground, often stamping on its victims to kill them. Insects, snakes, and small vertebrae make up its diet. The neck is not especially long and can only be lowered down to the intertarsal joint, so birds must stoop to reach the ground. Legend has it that the name secretary bird derives from the long quill-like feathers at the top of the bird's neck, reminiscent of quill pens behind the ears of ancient scribes. We've just crossed over from the Nassau riverbed to the Arb riverbed and turned south to a little picnic spot where we're just having a bit of lunch before continuing back north to our rest stop for tonight, which is Mata Mata. We've heard there's lots of cat sightings, big cat sightings up there, lots of cheetah especially, and lion. Which we've had very little of so far, so we have something to look forward to. It's going to take us a couple of hours to get up there. The trip across the dunes gave us a few sightings of Quran, loads of Kori, busted secretary birds, pale chanting goshawks, and a few swifts that I've taken pics of to see if I can ID later at home using the field guide. They're a bit tricky at high speed. So yeah, should be heading north in a little bit and then see what we can find on the way up. Gabar goshawk are polymorphic and occur in two distinct forms: the more common pale form with grey upperparts, white rump, and white and grey barring on the chest, and the much more rarer, almost completely black form, which accounts for almost 25% of the total population. A small raptor of about 35 centimeters, they occur across sub-Saharan Africa and up into the Arabian Peninsula. Breeding takes place between September and November, and a normal clutch of 2 eggs are laid. One notable aspect of their nest construction is that the birds collect spider webs, including live spiders. The spiders spin new webs which may help camouflage the nests. The spiders may also consume arthropods, which parasitize the chicks. Small birds are a major part of the Gabar goshawk's diet, with small mammals, reptiles, and insects also taken on occasion. Lilac-breasted rollers are ridiculously beautiful birds that have a wide distribution across southern and eastern Africa and is a vagrant to the southern Arabian Peninsula. It prefers open woodland and savanna and is for the most part absent from treeless places. Because they feed mainly on terrestrial prey, they'll perch up and scout from a higher vantage point before swooping in and grabbing prey with their beaks. If the prey is small, they'll swallow it on the ground, but if larger, they'll bring it back to the perch and beat it until it's dismembered. Breeding takes place in a tree cavity where a clutch of between 2 and 4 eggs are laid and incubated by both parents, who are extremely aggressive in the defense of their nest, often taking on raptors and other birds. Giraffe are a relatively new addition to the Kgalagadi Transfontier Park. There are several sources going back many years of giraffe in the northwestern Cape Province, southern Botswana, and southern part of Namibia, but none from the park itself. The nearest surviving giraffe population would seem to be that of the Central Kalahari Game Reserve, which lies some 320 kilometers northeast of the park, so it is likely that giraffe once graced the location of the current park. Since 1991, they have been successfully introduced to the park from Etosha National Park in Namibia. Here we are arriving at the Mata camp, and this is as far north as you can go on the Arb riverbed without crossing into Namibia. The Mata camp also houses the border crossing between the two countries. Mata is one of the original 3 rest camps and has always been fairly basic, and whilst it was given a facelift in 2009, it remains fairly simple compared to most modern safari lodges. It has a reception building, fuel station, small shop, swimming pool, game viewing hide, and around 13 chalets in a campsite, and of course the border crossing too. Closed for many years since the 1990s, it's been open since 2007. The camp also only has electricity for 16.5 hours a day and no mobile phone reception. We've unpacked and moved into our digs at Mata. I've just done a quick recce of the area. That's our accommodation for the night, and we have a look here. I found a pearl-spotted owl in this tree here, and a white-faced scops owl in this tree here. So just minutes walking from the accommodation. Pearl-spotted owlets are one of the smallest owls in Africa, with a length of about 20 centimeters. At the back of the head, there are 2 striking false black eyes with a white outline. The owlet is often active and calls during the day, but hunts and calls mostly at night. They use old holes excavated by barbets and woodpeckers, and females have been seen to use the same hole over several years, laying 2 to 4 eggs with an incubation period of about 29 days. Southern white-faced owls are a large scops owl, but still small relative to other owl species, and is a native to the southern half of Africa. Their nests may be built in old nests of other birds, in tree holes, or even on the ground. They have the uncanny ability to totally change the way they look, either appearing to be larger when threatened, or smaller and branch-like when trying to blend into their surroundings. And then while looking at the owls, I just happened to look out the corner of my eye and see this coming right for me, directly through the middle of the camp, parting everyone like Moses in the Red Sea.
Is it a cobra?
Cape Cobra.
Is it?
Yeah.
Surprisingly common in the Kalahari, of which I've seen several, and all of them have been inside the camps themselves. Bumping into one of these would end a good day really quickly, which is why you need to be very careful even when walking around the camps. Considered to be Africa's most dangerous cobra due to its potent venom and its frequent occurrence around houses, Cape cobras tend to be far paler in the Kalahari than elsewhere. The best part of the camps, I think, are their game viewing hides, but be careful you don't fall down a ground squirrel or meerkat burrow on your way over to them, especially at night. The Mata Mata hide looks over the very last stretch of Arb riverbed before it crosses over into Namibia. It also overlooks a small and distant waterhole which attracts game for your viewing pleasure. We decided we'd do a nighttime game drive as none of us had done so before. The trip would take us south of the camp on the road we came in on, but also off-road a bit to areas out of bounds to normal traffic. Before continuing on our way, we first collected extra passengers from the Kalahari tented camp, located just a short distance away from Mata Mata. It was a fairly quiet drive, but we did come across some familiar owl species. And then as the light faded into darkness, the sightings started picking up, with our driver expertly picking up game in his torchlight. The African giant millipede is the largest species of millipede, growing up to about 33.5 centimeters, and has about 256 legs, although the number of legs changes after each molting, so it can vary according to individuals. They live for about 7 to 10 years. Before leaving the camp for the day's drive, we thought we'd enjoy a coffee sitting in the hide and experiencing the desert waking up before us.
Well, it's not 7:30 in the morning yet. It's 7. So if we come here before we go out, then we can just check.
So yesterday we stayed at Nassop and we drove down and then across this transect road and then back up to Mata Mata. Today we're just going to do up and down here, and then the next day we are all the way back down to Tweeraferin. This is the border between South Africa and Namibia. This is the South African side, and down there is the entrance to Namibia. So the fence runs all the way along the boundary of the campsite. So basically anything on that side is Namibia.
Today's 56-kilometer drive would be our most relaxed, as we weren't going far and had the whole day to do it in, so could take our time and just enjoy the park. Dad's ability to find African wild cat on the move is extraordinary, finding several this trip. Can you see it yet? How about now? Still not? What about now? Southern African wildcat is the smallest wildcat species and is native to southern and eastern Africa, largely nocturnal and solitary except when mating and raising their young. The main threat to its survival is its tendency to crossbreed with domestic cats near human habitation. I still find it hard to believe that such big game like this giraffe can survive here. A giraffe's neck has the same amount of vertebrae as the neck of a human, except each of theirs are up to 25 centimeters long. Males can grow to around 5.5 meters tall and amazingly can gallop at speeds of up to 60 kilometers an hour in short bursts. The tongue of a giraffe is about 50 centimeters long and is prehensile, meaning it can reach out and grasp objects. I didn't realize until now that the giraffes in the Kalahari wear socks. Another great day in the Kalahari. We've just driven down from Mata to that same picnic site which we first attended when we came across from the Nassop riverbed. Had a great day driving down. A couple of wild cats, martial eagle, batalures, hunting Lana sitting up nicely in the sun, posing for us, giraffe, cheetah as well. Yeah, so we're just gonna have a bite to eat now. Dad's busy preparing stuff in the background there, and then we're gonna head back in the direction we came, and then get back to camp. Just mill around there, do some birding in the camp, because you can't actually get out the car in obviously when you're driving. So most of your bush birding is done in the camps, which is excellent, I might add. And then we will go out again late afternoon for another drive. Of the 4 or so bee-eater species recorded in the park, swallowtail bee-eaters are by far the most common. It breeds in the savanna woodlands of sub-Saharan Africa and is partially migratory, moving in response to rainfall patterns. This is the species which prefers somewhat more wooded country than most bee-eaters, although you wouldn't say so in the Kalahari Desert without many trees. In the breeding season, these birds often breed in the roadside scrapings of the park after the graders have gone through, and where you can get incredibly close views of these birds from the comfort of your car. Southern yellow-billed hornbill is the second of the 2 hornbill species that occur in the park, and is found across southern Africa and tend to be on their own unless breeding. Like the grey hornbill, the female, while imprisoned in the nest cavity raising the chicks, will shed all her flight and tail feathers, growing them back during her confinement. Another excellent find by my wife, way out in the riverbed, was this purple roller. Compared to other rollers, its colours are rather mute, and its voice harsh and grating. It's the largest of the rollers and prefers dry thorn felt, where it spends long periods perched at the top of thorn trees, watching for prey items such as insects, spiders, scorpions, and small lizards. We came across this sociable weaver's nest beside the road, but on closer inspection we realized it housed a barn owl. The middle section of the nest had fallen away, leaving a sheltered platform inside, making a perfect nest site for a pair of barn owls. Barn owls in the Kalahari are fairly common, but to find a daytime roosting one is less so. A lifer and my first lovebird species, we found these rosy-faced lovebirds around the entrance to the Mata Mata camp. They inhabit dry open country in southwestern Africa. Wild birds are mostly green with a blue rump. The face and throat are pink and are darkest around the forehead and above the eyes. The nice thing about the Mata Mata camp is that it has its own colony of meerkats, which are very much habituated to humans, and often forage right inside the camp, oblivious to human presence. Meerkat are a small mongoose found across southern Africa, highly social and forming packs of up to 30 individuals, with home ranges of about 5 square kilometers. Also hierarchical, generally the dominant individuals in the pack breed and produce offspring, and the non-breeding subordinate members provide care to the pups. Meerkats are active during the day, mostly in the early morning and late afternoon. They remain continually alert and retreat to their burrows when sensing danger. Encounters between members of different packs are highly aggressive, leading to severe injuries and often death. 19% of meerkats die in conspecific violence, which is the highest recorded percentage among mammals. The general rule to a meerkat diet is if you can kill it, you can eat it, but they also eat plant matter like citron melons, roots, and tubers for their water content.
Mrs. having a gingy. True to form, we are first at the gate to leave this morning. Sun's about to come up over the horizon. We've got a long drive today, Marta down to Twerefieren, where we'll be spending the night. And then tomorrow morning we'll be up and out early to explore the southern section of the park, before then leaving the park and heading south to Kgalagadi National Park through Uppington again. So today is going to be a long drive south, but we've literally got all day, so we're just going to take it slow. Hopefully find some cats today, because they have been seriously lacking. There's a couple of distant lion and a nice cheetah yesterday, but other than that it's been unusually quiet. Normally you have sort of lion and cheetah right next to the road, but not this trip unfortunately. But on the reverse of that, the birding has been excellent. So Sean's a happy bunny. These are our vehicles, Dad's and Isles, getting ready to sign out. You have to sign out and take your slip with you so they know where you are in the park. So if you don't check back in, they know you are stuck somewhere on the road, so then they'll send out help. Yeah, it's not a place to mess with. It's extremely hot, and obviously water is very scarce. So yeah, looking forward to a long drive today. It's going to be a nice one. So we're up here at Marta, and today's drive is all the way down south. Lots of stops. Probably have a rest stop halfway and have a bite to eat. And then our destination is Twerefieren for this evening. Okay, we're about to set off for the day. Just lastly, when we were about to leave, there were 2 barn owls sitting in that little hole up there. Now they've scurried back inside. So there's action all over the place around here. That's our cabin for the evening last night. And the tented camp section down the bottom there.
Today's journey south to the Twerefieren camp is about 125 kilometers all the way along the Arb River bed, stopping at the Kamkwa picnic site for lunch. Battalias have a wingspan of about 1.8 meters and are the only species in its genus, Pterothorpius. They occur across most of sub-Saharan Africa and like open savanna and dry woodland. Despite being a rather aggressive bird, Battalias are easily flushed from their own nests, making them exceptionally vulnerable to nest predators. It may take as long as 7 to 8 years to attain full maturity, perhaps the longest stretch to maturity of any raptor. Juveniles are quite different looking to the adults, being largely drab-brown and are often confused for other species of eagle. Despite leaving the nest, the eaglets still rely on their parents for food for an additional 3 to 4 months. Adults have such short tails that their feet extend beyond the tail tip, almost giving the impression that the raptor has no tail, and are relatively long-lived at 27 years. By Kgalagadi standards, we had very poor big cat sightings this trip.
I would go as far as to say that it's one of the best places in SA to see big cats. The lack of vegetation and the sheer number of big cats in the park make it a dream destination to view them at, but not for us this trip. Well, that is, until we came across this cheetah off in the distance, feeding on its freshly caught meal. As it had been all birding up until now, my wife and I decided to wait it out and see what it would do after it finished eating. Unfortunately, this took over an hour, but we were in it to win it, so settled down for the long haul. At least we had the previous battaliers nesting over our heads to keep us entertained while we waited. And then, as luck would have it, as it started walking off from the kill, it changed direction and headed straight for us. We couldn't believe our luck. Our heart rates jumped as the adrenaline kicked in, and it kept coming towards us. I told my wife it had the whole park to walk off in, and it's coming straight for us. At one point I thought it was going to climb onto the car as a vantage point, but at the last minute it turned and walked directly behind our car and out the other side, and off into the desert. If we had not waited or arrived 2 minutes later, we wouldn't have seen a thing. Cheetah are made up of 5 subspecies, and at any given time there are between 80 and 100 cheetah in the park. They are one of the few cats that can't retract their claws, giving them constant traction. They also have exceptionally long flat tails which they use as a counterbalance when turning at high speed. Cheetah also can't roar, and it's only the males that are social. This guy must have the best job in the park. Everybody loves him because he flattens the roads, and he must see some incredible things while doing so. Burroughs eagle owl is in the top 5 largest owls in the world, and are the largest African owl. They are mainly grey in colour and are distinguishable from other large owls by their bright pink eyelids. They are apex avian predators, with records of them taking other raptorial birds as prey items. There's even a record of one taking an adult Pel's fishing owl as prey in Botswana. Breeding takes place between July and September in the southern part of its range, and they use the old nests of other large birds as their own. The female will incubate the eggs for almost the entire time, with the male bringing her food items. The chicks remain dependent on the adults for food for around 5 months. The Achterlerne picnic site is located by a small farmstead originally built to look over and protect a nearby borehole. Boreholes were drilled along the Arb riverbed during the First World War in order to supply water to the British troops should the Germans attempt to invade from their bases in the then Southwest Africa. Guards were recruited from the local community and were allowed to settle with their families and livestock. After the war, the guards and boreholes were largely forgotten, until 1931, when the land was proclaimed a national park and the farmers and guards were given land along the Kuruman River. The site was restored in 2004 by the Poverty Relief Project. If you think about it, it must have been a special kind of hardy person to have been able to take on the ruggedness of this land and eke out an existence here.
I was amazed to see this northern black Quran walk out of the desert right up to my feet, obviously habituated to the humans visiting the Achterlurni picnic site. Occurring across most of southern Africa, northern black Quran is a species in the bustard family. Almost identical looking to the southern black Quran, apart from the fact that its primaries are largely white, whereas the southerns are black. Both males and females have red beaks and bright yellow legs. A largely terrestrial bird that forages on insects and seeds as they walk along. Often only the males are seen when driving in the park, as the females are exceptionally well camouflaged. Their nests are just a simple scrape in the ground containing 1 or 2 eggs.
After a long, hot drive down from Artamata, we have finally made it to Tweerefieren, the main camp of the Kgalagadi National Park. We've just booked into our accommodation, that's ours, and the fogies are next door. Didn't see much, had a nice sighting of a cheetah, which was lovely, and nice raptors and things like that. Had a northern black Quran at one of the picnic spots that was showing ridiculously well. Let me just switch you over here. Looks like accommodation block, the wagon, a couple of our neighbors down there, and then overlooking the campsite, which is down the bottom there, the ablution block. We got the restaurant, which is just around the corner here. Oh, quite a sweet spot for tonight. Grab our cozies and head to the pool, try and cool down a bit. There is a hide here, so we're going to walk over to that tonight, along with a evening drive. I think we're going to do the Nassop River Valley again, because the Arb River Valley is a bit, there's a section through the dunes which is a bit dead, so we're going to try the other river valley and see how we get on.
The game viewing hide at Tweerefieren is a little bit hidden away, so if you don't know about it, it's easily overlooked and missed. It's a little walk away from the chalets and campsite, right at the top of the camp just before you get to the staff accommodation. To get there, there's a small footpath leading away from chalet number 1. Walking there provides an opportunity to do some bush birding, and the hide itself overlooks a small waterhole and has a fantastic view over the southern part of the park and the red dunes of the Kalahari. I love the fact that it's a short distance away from the camp. This means you can sit in silence there and appreciate the stillness of the desert. I had to laugh at this sighting because I'm sat in the middle of a desert looking at a tiny waterhole, and what do I see there but a wader. New day in the Kalahari, and we're going to go out for our last morning drive.
from Tuirufiren, main camp. I'm busy packing up the car, so swinging around. Busy packing up the car, got the fridge in the car. Had a lovely night's sleep last night in the accommodation block. Aircon was lovely. So we'll go out and do the Arb River north, then cross over the Transect Road, and then down the Nassau Valley back to Tuirufiren, and then out to Uppington and back to Kgalagadi National Park.
Today's 111-kilometre drive takes us north up the Arb riverbed, across the southern Transect Road, and then south down the Nassau riverbed, back to Tuirufiren and out the park.
Because every down there forward it's either cheetah, lion, hyena.
Should they?
I don't think so myself.
When's lunch?
Are you hungry?
To be defeated when we get back, me. No?
Mm-hmm.
After a fairly uneventful morning's drive, we of course couldn't help ourselves and had to have a final dip in the camp pool before our long drive south out the park.
That's it for the Kgalagadi National Park. We've just had a dip in the pool quickly to cool down. Now we're going to have a bite to eat and then head south via Uppington to Kgalagadi National Park, where we're going to spend the night. Of course, birding along the way too. It's been a hell of a good trip. Can't wait to come back already, and I haven't even left yet. But yeah, fantastic. Highly recommend it to anybody who's thinking about coming up. I love birding in behind hotels and such, and so I've made my way right up to the back of the camp at Tuirufiren, around the staff quarters. It's good birding up here, and best of all, there's no one around to disturb you. So top tip, always go behind the hotel to check the birding scene, always the best. Feeling what?
Oh.